Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Kayla and I make videos about all things BPD. Now for those of you who have been around with me for the past year, you know that I have a very cute and awesome cat named Tuna. Well, recently we just added a new addition to the family, so welcome Mojo! So he will be with us from now on. Him and Tuna are not the best of friends yet, but I will keep you guys posted on that situation. Right, Mojo? Say hello. Now, as you may have guessed it from the title of this video, today we're going to be addressing the 9th and final BPD symptom, so the one relating to dissociation and stress-related paranoia. It's kind of crazy to think that we've already gone through all the 9 symptoms. This has been a very interesting year and I've had so much fun getting to know all of you over the past year, so just thank you for your engagement, thank you for being present, and thank you for always being here, sharing your time with me on Mondays. Now, you're probably familiar with this feeling of being zoned out. The best way I could describe this is when you're driving somewhere and next thing you know, you've arrived at your destination and you don't even know how you got there. This is kind of what it feels like to dissociate. Now, dissociation is very common. Up to 75 to 80% of those who have BPD experience this symptom at one point or another. Dissociation, though, it's important to know that it's not just specific to BPD. We also see this in things like PTSD. Believe it or not, but dissociation is actually an adaptive function. This is part of our ingrained system. So it's there to help us cope with stressful situations. And when you think about it, this actually makes sense. If you're faced with a situation that is highly stressful or triggering, dissociating from it can actually help to lower anxiety, fear, and shame, and this is beneficial short term. Of course, we know that long term dissociation does not work because it's a form of avoidance, it's a form of escaping the situations that we're dealing with. But please know that at some point, whether you started dissociating as a young child when you were in a very invalidating environment and you couldn't comprehend why maybe your parents were kind to you one moment and unkind to you the next, dissociation makes complete sense. It makes sense, especially with BPD, with a history of trauma. This makes sense. It's just not the most adaptive thing that we can be doing when we're faced with difficulties. So now that we have a general sense of why dissociation happens, let's take a moment to really explore what dissociation looks like so that you can better identify it in yourself when it's happening. So the first thing that we're going to address is memory loss. This is a big one. This can happen for a short period of time, a long period of time. It's really individual to you. It's unique. I often get comments asking for different videos that I put out. Well, can I experience this way? Can it be mixed of different things? Yes, so please know that your BPD experience is unique to you. Every single one of you are different. The way that you experience the symptoms are different, okay? So know that even if you've never dissociated, that's okay. You don't need to have all 9 symptoms to really be diagnosed with BPD. The second distinctive component of dissociation is something known as depersonalization. Okay, so this is a feeling detached from yourself, feeling detached from your parts of your body, from your emotions. Some of you, and I've heard this from different folks who do have BPD, it's almost like looking in the mirror, you're seeing yourself and you don't recognize yourself. This is this feeling of feeling really numb. So personally, I know that when I'm in situations that are highly triggering to me, so when someone is raising their voice at me or yelling at me, or conflict sometimes in general, when they pass my threshold of tolerance, I do tend to dissociate. And what will happen is I feel nothing. I'm very disconnected from my emotions and I feel numb. And this is the zombie mode that I go into. This is part of this depersonalization. Relating to this is something called derealization. Okay, so once again, these are components of dissociation. So we have depersonalization, which is being detached from yourself, and derealization is being detached from your surroundings, from your environment, or people that are familiar to you. You might not recognize them anymore, okay? So oftentimes, this is something I hear a lot, is when folks who have BPD dissociate and they tend more towards this derealization component, they might have tunnel vision, meaning that it's very narrow. They don't really notice their surroundings. Colors might actually look different. So the way that your eyes perceive the world actually changes, which is really interesting when you think about it. But if you're experiencing some of these symptoms, just know that this is part and a common experience of dissociation. And the two last components, so first we have identity confusion, so not knowing who you are, what you want in life, so kind of losing sense of yourself as a person. We also have identity alteration, so almost feeling like you have different personalities and you don't really have control over those personalities. People in your environment might actually notice that you're acting different, so you might maybe speak a bit differently, you might have a different mood altogether, different how the way that you present yourself. Okay, so we have the sense of not knowing who we are, and we can also have the sense of having altered personalities. Instead of being one whole person, it's almost like we become fragmented when we dissociate. Okay, so that's essentially the main components that we see in dissociation. You'll notice that they're all very different but similar at the same time. And so if you're experiencing dissociation in a certain way and someone else is experiencing it in another way, just know that you're not faulty. Your experience is your experience, and every single one of you who has BPD will experience symptoms in a different way. So this actually leads me to my next point, is if we're experiencing this symptom, what can we do about it? So how can we help with dissociation? The first thing I always recommend is to practice grounding exercises. Using your five senses, this is something that I often tell my therapy clients to do. So finding, based on your five senses, so one thing that you can touch, one thing that you can see, smell, taste, and hear, working through that cycle as many times as you need to feel grounded. Something else that you can do relating to grounding exercises is cold therapy. I talk about this all the time just because this really, really works. Hopping in a freezing cold shower for 30 seconds to a minute can be enough to just shock your system to help you feel more grounded, more based in reality. Oftentimes also when we're dissociating, we want to bring our attention to the external physical world, okay? Especially if we're experiencing things like derealization, where we're not recognizing our environment. Grounding yourself in the here and now, which is the opposite of dissociation. Dissociation, you're trying to escape from the here and now, can be really, really important in helping you stop this, okay? Something else, another grounding exercise, is eating a lemon. Okay, something really sour. There's really sour candies that you can eat. Once again, shocking your system just slightly enough to bring you back to reality. You may listen to this and think, Kayla, this is stupid. This is overly simplistic. Yes, okay, I hear this time and time and time again. And believe me, I used to share those same feelings as you before I tried those things. I used to think, this is never going to work. This is not for me. This is stupid. Give it a shot. This is called practice for a reason. You need to practice. You need to try it many, many, many times for it to start working and for you to start integrating it more holistically and see that, wow, this actually does have benefits. This is actually able to stop me from dissociating. Something else that you can do to help with dissociation is to simply have general awareness of your triggers. So like I mentioned, for me, one of my triggers is someone raising their voice at me or yelling. Because I know this now in conversations with my partner, if we argue, he knows to kind of monitor his voice levels, and we take breaks when we need to avoid dissociation. The last thing I will mention to help with dissociation is to practice acceptance. So as we know, dissociation is a means to escape. It's a means to avoid the stressful, triggering situations that we're faced with. And when we start to practice radical acceptance, which I've already talked about, I'll just link my video up here. But essentially, when we start to practice this radical acceptance, we can learn how to ride the wave of strong emotions and recognize and have the wisdom to know that this wave is always going to come down. We're not going to keep riding it forever. And sometimes when we just have this awareness, this wisdom, and we can accept the feelings for what they are, the wave actually comes down much quicker, and we can write it out and experience the full plethora of emotions, even though they're painful sometimes, we can derive meaning from our experiences. I want to just take a moment to really highlight how difficult this is. I am giving you skills and tips, but I also know that it's really hard to put them into place. It's really hard to know where to start when we're not properly supported. So this is why I always encourage therapy. Although my videos are great and they're a great maybe first source of information, this is not individualized counseling and therapy for you. And so I encourage you to seek out the help and support that you need to assist you along your recovery journey. If you found this video useful, or if you just found Mojo adorable, which he is, leave me a comment down below. I always read and respond to all of them, and sharing information in the comments is actually really beneficial, not only to me, but all the other members of our community. The best way to support my channel is really to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And the more that my videos get shared, the more people get information about BPD. And this is really the aim of what I'm trying to do with my channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. Have an amazing week, and I will see you next Monday for another episode of On the Line.